Shalom, shalom, akiyam. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash. I would also like to give a double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, where I learned this 144% truth. I would also like to say peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, starting with the 144,000 men of Israel, which consists of the servants, the prophets, whom have been ordained since the foundations of this earth to sing this new song, which comes in the form of this gospel, which would be preached throughout all four corners of this earth and rest upon the ears of the innumerable multitude, men, women, and children of Israel, who may be scattered throughout all four corners of this earth. It's just Bayan back again through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. And I just wanted to get into a brief lesson speaking on a few articles I came across through the spirit. And it's concerning the lack of wits that Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is displaying in these end times. Being that he's at the end of the road, man. All right, when it comes to this global dominion, this blessing he received, all right, in the form of Isaac, in Genesis, the 27th chapter, Isaac being Yahweh Shai, if you can receive it. All right, blessed Esau with the dew of heaven, all right, with the fatness of the earth. All right, and it was said that he'll be given a sword and he'll rule by it. All right, and then we know that sword evolves around death and destruction, man. All right, ultimately, your modern day sword will be the gun. All right, in its perfection, it would be an ICBM missile. All right, and everything in between that this man's been able to create a weapon out of, man, from a syringe, all right, to contaminated water and defiled food, man. All right, but needless to say, as we inch closer and closer to salvation for the nation of Israel, beginning with the elect, we're clearly seeing the wisdom, all right, within these Edomites perish, man, which is a token, a sign, all right, that scepter is slowly but surely being stripped, all right, from this man's hands. Now, I have a couple of articles. I have two of them. They're cohesive with one another, pretty much talk about the same situation, but there's something I want to point out within the two through the spirit. But before we get into this first one, let's go here. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49, and verse 7, and it reads, concerning Edom. All right, so this is concerning Esau, Edom, all right, which is the so-called white man. All right, and now this has been a mystery for eons. All right, now we know when you go back in time, all right, to the first documented murderer, which is Cain. All right, Cain was cursed with a mark. All right, and that mark was the mark of leprosy. All right, the mark of a clean leper. And the horn chimed in. Yuaki Yamanakwath heard that, but needless to say, all right, that mark followed him. All right, all the way up until the time of Esau. Okay, when Esau was born, it tells us in Genesis 25 that what? He was red all over like a hairy garment, being that his blood came forth. All right, he was translucent. He didn't have any melanin. All right. Ultimately, when you get this name Esau in the Hebrew, it's Isashua, all right, which is wasted away as he. Okay, and ultimately, his name is an omen to his lack of melanin. Okay, now, ultimately, this man has been able to hide himself through this color scheme he's been playing, this whole black, white, green, yellow game he's been playing, amongst the nations. He's white, supposedly, right, which means pure, innocent, perfect, right? And Jake is black, okay, supposedly, which is dark, evil, deaf, wicked, all right, and he's been pushing this forth, which is part of his social construct to create this narrative that he's supreme, that he's superior, okay, but in reality, he's inferior, okay, he's degraded, all right, and ultimately, he's not fit, okay, for a rulership position, nor is he the elite of the people, okay, they're the children of Satan, is who they are. All right, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are the closest thing, all right, to the heavenly bodies, man. Being that this nation, all right, the nation of Israel, all right, which consists of us so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, have been chosen by Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, man, to be his own inheritance. You see? And this is something that would be forever. All right, he made that covenant, that oath with Abraham. All right, that he will bless his seed and his seed after him forever, man. Okay? And this is immutable. And Esau knows this. And this is why he's fighting tooth and nail to destroy us, man. Okay, but it's gonna be to no avail. But needless to say, the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49 and verse 7, and it reads concerning Edom. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, man. So you see the energy he's coming at this dude with? All right, the Lord Yahweh is coming at this dude with the energy of war. Okay, host goes into armies. You see? So saith the Lord of hosts, man. All right, is wisdom no more in Teman? Teman being the Germans. All right, these Temanites will be the Germans, the wise men. All right, the wiser of the Edomites. All right, this is why, you have something called German engineering. Okay, you have these physicists, these scientists, well known, more than likely Germans. You have Abraham Esau comes to mind. Look him up, Abraham Esau. Okay, you have the well-known Robert Oppenheimer. These okay, these are the wiser of the Edomites. Okay, the Lord gave them the ability, all right, to understand the periodic table, man, to be able to split atoms, all right, smash them back together to create cataclysmic events, man. You see, he's opened them up to gene editing. But anyways, right? So is there wisdom no more in Teman? There's the questions being raised as far as his wisdom, because there's going to come a time where there's going to be a lack thereof. Okay, look, is counsel perish from the prudent? And scripture says do nothing without counsel. And you can see within the Edomite council that they're split down the middle. Okay, they don't see eye to eye, which is showing you that there's a mishap, okay, on the foundation of this man's system. All right, showing you that this place is crumbling. Is their wisdom vanished, man? Okay, this is not the Esau of the 1950s, man. All right, where he's able to execute Navy SEAL missions, pinpoint accurate. No. All right, they're in the time now, okay, where they got whole $60 million jet fighters falling off of damn aircraft carriers, man. All right, now this is something you wouldn't think this would be unheard of, man, back in times past. Okay, but this is just a token of the lack of wisdom and the feebleness on display of this place, man. Okay, now check this out. This is from Zero Hedge. All right, it's dated April 28th. All right, a couple of days old, fresh off the press. Right, the title reads, Fighter Jet Falls Overboard as USS Truman evaded and bound Houthi fire. Now we know this man got himself in the east, backing up the small hats, the JWOs, in this conflict that's going on over there, which is all formulating into the climax of World War III. We're already in World War III. All right, we're in the time now where, the rumors are on display and this thing is just reaching its climax ultimately. All right, but this thing is going to climax into a nuclear fallout ultimately via biblical prophecy, man. Okay, but ultimately this man's got his ass over there, helping out the small hats, right? And here it is. He's found himself in a position where he's evading Houthi fire, man. Okay, so when to evade means you scurrying off. You're trying to escape. Okay, so mind you, this is what's going on, right? Upon this incident, right? So a $60 million fighter jet has been lost at sea at a moment American naval assets under U.S. Central Command have been conducting bombing campaigns against Yemen's Houthis since March 15th. But as far as what's being reported from the Pentagon, the jet wasn't shot out of the sky during operations. It apparently rolled off an aircraft carrier, man. Okay, this is hey. How do you think these other leaders are looking at this place, man? Russia's laughing their ass off, man, with this story. Okay, who else is doing this? Okay, but this just shows you the lack of organization on display, the lack of wisdom on display. Okay, the lack of responsibility, man. Because mind you, whose $60 million is that? American taxpayers. You see? So this is not the only issue that came forth in the past year. There's more. We're going to get into it, but check this out. The U.S. Navy F-18 Super Hornet fighter jet fell overboard from the USS Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier while it was being towed on board. The Navy said in a statement on Monday, CNN reports. Now, according to this other article I got, okay, they're downplaying the event. Okay, according to this article here. All right, this event we just read about in Zero Hedge is being downplayed as far as it being told. It's not even of that criteria of how it happened. But check this out, right? U.S. Navy loses $60 million jet in Red Sea, all right, after evading Houthi fire as U.S. support for Israel fuels regional chaos, man. And again, we know those small hats, as it tells us in biblical prophecy. Let's go here. As a matter of fact, we'll close out with that, all right? Because at the end of the day, these small hats are going to drawing out Babylon. That's biblical prophecy, man, that would be to bring on both of their demise. But as you can see, this is not working out. It's not a smooth operation. Okay? Now check this out, right? I want to make the point I'm making. Let me just read these pressure points and it'll lead right into the point, but let's just read through this. A $60 million F-18 Super Hornet fighter jet from USSR Harry S. Truman sank in the Red Sea, possibly after the carrier evaded Houthi missile or drone attacks. The Pentagon claims it was a routine accident. What was routine about that, right? But reports suggest evasive maneuvering against Houthi fire caused the loss. All right, this marks the second Super Hornet lost by Truman Strike Group in months. You see that? Raising concerns about U.S. military strain in the region. All right, this is the second Super Hornet loss, man. And wait until you hear about how the first one was lost. All right? Showing you that this place is a laughingstock. Look, the Houthis continue attacking Red Sea vessels, linking their assaults to U.S. support for Israel's actions in Gaza. Critics argue the White House's refusal to pressure Israel to halt the war is escalating tensions and risking broader conflict. Check this out. In another dangerous escalation fueled by the U.S. unwavering backing of Israel's brutal war in Gaza, a $60 million F-18 Super Hornet fighter jet rolled off the deck of the U.S. Harry S. Truman and sank into the Red Sea this week. And some reports indicate it happened after the aircraft carrier took sudden evasive action to avoid incoming Houthi missile or drone fire. The Iran-backed Yemeni rebel group has repeatedly targeted U.S. warships in protest of Israel's U.S.-backed assault on Gaza, which has deleted over 35,000 Palestinians, most of them civilians. The Pentagon downplayed the incident. Okay, and this article is telling us that it's being downplayed. What happened? What supposedly really happened? All right, claiming the jet was lost during routine towing operations, but initial reports suggest the Truman's aggressive maneuvering, triggered by Houthi attacks, caused the accident as it tried to evade Houthi fire. Okay, their tongues are falling upon themselves, man. As you gaze upon these two articles, one article saying, okay, that it was being told and it happened. This article saying that's a downplay. Meaning what? That's not what really happened. What really happened is that USS Truman was aggressively maneuvering in efforts to evade the Houthis, man. Okay? And the damn F-18 Super Hornet wasn't securely strapped down on the plane, on the carrier, man. All right, somebody didn't do their job, man. Okay? Somebody didn't do their job, because the hearts of the men of Babylon that wax feeble. All right, these men that are in the military now, they're not built like the 1950 Edomites, man. All right, these men are flamboyant, feminine. All right, they're tapped into their feminine side, man, as the word will say. Okay, these ain't them waristic, all right, red-blooded Edomites of the day of yesterday, man. That's a thing of the past. And incidents like this prove it. You see, when the pressure came, these these dudes folded like a wet paper bag, man. Okay, how do you think that happened? You see? Look, let's get a little more. Check this out. Actually, let's get this preset. Actually, let me just continue on. Look at a costly mishap or a warning sign, right? This marks the second FA-18 loss by the Truman strike group in recent months. Check this out. In December, another Super Hornet was accidentally shot down by a U.S. cruiser. So they shot down their own plane. They accidentally shot down their own plane back in December, man. Okay? Look, during the chaotic Red Sea operations, while no serious injuries were reported this time, the incident underscores the growing risks of the U.S.'s actions in the Middle East, man. Okay, you can see, hey, this is a soiled mission. Okay, and the men that are on the front line for Babylon, they're not built for the mission, man. They're not built for the mission. These are catastrophic errors, man. Isn't that something you just shrug the shoulder at and turn the other cheek? Okay, but this is showing you that what? The Lord's not in their favor. Okay, Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. Remember, scriptures say the Lord mustereth the host of the battle. You see, Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai mustereth the host of the battle, man. It's of the Lord if you get the victory or not. This place was once a golden cup in the Lord's hand, but the Lord's turning them over. Okay? And Babylon taking their ass out there in the Middle East. All this is biblical prophecy coming together like a play, man. Because ultimately, scripture says, as we were going to get, I'm going to get this first. I'm going to get this real quick. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, and verse 35, and it reads, "A sword is upon the Chaldeans, saith the Lord," which is another name for Babylon. Which the Chaldeans going to the wise men. This left-hand priesthood that he operates under, right? "A sword is upon the Chaldeans, saith the Lord Yahweh, and upon the inhabitants of Babylon, and upon her princes, and upon her wise men," man. So there's a sword upon you now. You're no longer in the Lord's favor. You see? Now it's time for you to be taken out. You see, a sword is upon the liars. Okay, and we know who the liar is, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Revelations 12, right, tells us that he's the accuser of our brethren, man, who accused us day and night before the Lord, right? Slandered us. Psalms 50, right? Look at, "And they shall dope. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed," man. Okay, why do you think this happened? Okay, why do you think these events happen, man? This costly mishap. Okay? Because her mighty men are dismayed, man. Babylon's mighty men are dismayed. They're confused. They're perplexed. They're confounded. And ultimately, they're scared, man. Okay? But durst do fight. And ultimately, they're going to be in that spirit when the Lord cracks these clouds, man. But the Lord's going to put it on the spirit of them to fight. You see? Hey, they're dismayed, man. Let's go back. Right? "A sword is upon their horses, and upon their chariots," right, upon their military, right, and upon all the mingled people that are in the midst of her, right. See, the Lord has a scopeo on Babylon the Great, man. All right, Isaiah 34 tells us that this is going to be that great sacrifice in Basra. All right, Basra being the capital city of Edom, which will be likened unto America today, right? Remember, Genesis 36 and 8, Esau is Edom, right? "And they shall become as woman. A sword is upon her treasures, and they shall be robbed," man, right? Because the silver and the gold is Yahweh Bashim Yahushai's, man. And all you've been doing is keeping it warm. All right? Haggai tells us that the silver and the gold is Yahweh Bashim Yahushai's, man. Okay? All you've been doing is keeping it warm, Evil E. Okay? As you have all the gold and silver and precious jewels and stones locked up in these vaults, man. You're just keeping it warm for Yasha Allah is all you're doing. Okay, and like we were saying earlier, you taking your ass down there to eat the Middle East, you just playing in the hand of the Lord. Is all you're doing. Okay? Because ultimately at the end of the day, all right, this is the plan of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, man, at the end of the day. Let's close out here. Bear with me. Let me go here. There's two locations. I want to get it from I wanted to get it from Jeremiah 49. I must have been overlooking it earlier, but anyways, forgot where it was at. It's all through the Spirit. We can't remember everything. You know? It's all through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua at the end of the day. All right, let's get this, right? Let's close out here. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 49 and verse 20. "Therefore, hear the counsel of the Lord Yahweh that he hath taken against Edom," man. Okay, so there's a counsel that's being taken against Edom. See, the Lord's against this dude. And that's what you, Jake, don't get. All right, you, Jake, outside of this truth. You think the Lord's with this man? All right, because he's living in the best houses, driving the flyest cars, and living the most comfortable, luxurious life. No, man, the Lord set Esau up for a downfall. Remember, when you're on high, all right, there ain't no other place for you to go but down. When you on low, there ain't no other place for you to go but up. You see? Hey, we in the best place we can be, man. Being the underdogs, being downtrodden, man. Let's continue on. "And his purpose is that he had purpose against the inhabitants of Teman," right? Okay, "Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out." The least of the flock being who? Amalek. Okay? The small hats, man. The first of the nations, man. You see? Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them, man. Okay, they're gonna lose. All right, the small hats are gonna lose over there in our land, and Esau's gonna lose. The other Edomites, all right, these Western Edomites are gonna lose, man. All the Edomites are gonna lose. This whole beast system's gonna lose. Okay, in the form of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and the European Union, man. That's why you see it crumbling as we do this lesson. Okay, they're gonna lose. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai is gonna raise up against this dude. Okay, this is why nothing's going in his favor. This is why he's over there in the Red Sea right now, looking crazy. Okay, because Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai is now visiting this man. Okay, let me close out with this. Hey, and it's gonna end with it's gonna end with a bang, man. We'll close out with this right here. Jeremiah 49:8, and it reads, "Flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him." And we're living in the time of this man's visitation. All right, this is why none of his plans are going smooth. Okay, his enemies are not cohesive with him. All right, he's making mistakes on the battlefield. All right, looking like a rookie, man. But here it is. This is supposed to be a superpower. Okay, but they're moving around like rookies, man. Why? Because Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai is throwing a monkey wrench in this dude's plans, man. Repent, Jake, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. Repent, get right with your power. Okay, because salvation is at hand, man. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah Kwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, where I learned this 144% truth. Lord willing, you Akiyam and Akwaf will edify. Shalom.